within, I would say 30 days, they were contacting us because they knew that we had exceptional customer support, and we started taking clients away from that. That was the opposite that tech companies want to do. Welcome to the Thrive Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Potter. We're dedicated to helping tech entrepreneurs and founders along the path to success. Let's dive into today's blueprint for success. I'm happy to introduce Kevin Peterson, Chief Operating Officer of DataCapable, and Scott Potter, my colleague at Thrive Advisors. We're diving into the world of customer support in the tech industry today. Kevin, reflecting on the past, how would you describe the transformation of customer support in the tech space over the years?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, and one that I've had the opportunity to reflect on a fair bit across my career. And I think one of the real challenges with customer support, customer success, and doing it well and doing it right is there's always this natural tension between efficiency and delivering top quality support for your customers. And there's always this temptation of filling the void with technology here. But I think there's the real key as technology has continued to evolve in this area is diving in and trying to understand, what gaps can technology fill without creating frustration for your customers, knowing that they're being pushed through a funnel of technology when the most important thing to them when they're calling your customer support is their problem. So the quicker you can get to solving problems, the better you can do it. But back to the question on the evolution of customer support and customer success, particularly in the tech industry, we've gone from a very traditional model of phone calls. The only type of support there is phone support, to a much more matrixed type of customer support. I think if you're doing customer support well, you're meeting your customers where they are operating and where they want to be. Not all customers want to have a phone call. Not all customers want to support email. Not all customers want a text option. Not all customers want a chat bot. So the evolution has really been from a very simplistic type of customer support to a much more matrix type of customer support. Again, meeting your customers in the channels that they're comfortable operating in.
I couldn't agree more. One of the things that we've done on one of my previous companies was looking to understand customer preference. Have you found in the tech industry, especially with the advancement of technology, yes, there are AI-driven chatbots and things of that nature, and the direction of the companies, so many companies, is to contain the customer support outside of the call center because of cost considerations. But you mentioned, each client has a different approach to what they want. Would you advise customer support departments to really understand the preference of their customers? I mean, I'm very much a visual person, so if somebody would just give me something in writing and in order to support me, I would prefer that rather than talking to a call center. But what I'd really like to know is that when I contact for customer support, they would know who I am and they would know my preferences because I've already told them. How does that play in the journey to providing better customer support?
Yeah, I think naturally from the onset, you're a small company, and being a small company with a small customer base, that is the natural position, right? You know your customers inside and out because you can focus all of your effort on a very small base of customers. And I think there's a real mistake in losing sight of that as you grow your company. So you need to start putting systems in place because the people are going to change over time. The understanding of the your customers are going to change over time. You're not going to have one person that has a deep knowledge base of all of your customers, what all of your customers' needs are. So you got to put systems in place. I think the other real mistake that's made around customer support and customer service is so often it's viewed as just a cost center in the business. The financial people, they don't see a return on investment from it, right? Like there's not a clear return on investment. And I think that in and of itself presents a real clear opportunity for differentiation for your company and your business in the marketplace because that conception exists out there, and it's really easy to distinguish and separate yourself by looking at customer service as a real strategic advantage for your business that you can take advantage of.
Something that we've learned probably 20 years ago was that the greatest predictor of customer loyalty is reducing customer effort. And how does technology today support reducing customer effort? Because I think the last thing that most people want to do is have to call and talk to customer support in a call center. How has technology helped that?
Yeah, really great question. So I had the opportunity in my career where I ran call centers for several years, and the conception of the call center there was that was all customer support across all of the customer base for all of our customers. We tried to funnel everything through there, and one of the concepts that I tried to introduce early on, one concept we've already talked about: understand your customers. Your customer every time they come in shouldn't have to explain their entire story of who they are, what their challenges are, what they're using your products for. So you need to build that knowledge base in the company so that regardless of who picks up the phone, they aren't leaving the customer starting from step one
each time.
Right. And then I took some time looking outside of our industry because the utility industry isn't usually on the cutting edge of these things, and they're very much early on in their journey of customer experience and really being customer focused and customer centric organizations. So
right.
One of the first places I went was Disney. Like if anybody does customer right out there, I would contend that it's Disney. And why is Disney so great at customer service? Because they implemented this concept of frictionless. So everything they do, they're trying to reduce friction. And that A, makes customers much more satisfied, but B, it also makes customers much more willing to spend their money, right? And,
I agree.
And that's the brilliance in that concept. So, if you go to book a vacation for Disney, they have a whole journey that they walk you through, and before you know it, you've spent $20,000 and you didn't even know you spent $20,000.
Well, my experience is with Tesla. Well, you can spend a lot of money real fast with Tesla because they've made the order process so seamless. One of the things that I've experienced is, all things being equal, if you are doing business with two different banks, you're always going to choose the one that decreases your customer effort the most, because so much of business out there is a commodity, and so you're always going to lean toward those companies that support you with the least amount of effort. Scott, digital presence has grown immensely, and you're a technology expert, and with it, the importance of online customer support. How vital do you believe perfecting that digital touch point is in the market today?
It's critical. I mean, it's really evolved over the years too, in how companies approach that digital touch point. And to Kevin's point, we really want to take a look at how that customer journey evolves and how customers want to receive support, be communicated with, and we want to open up those opportunities. But we also don't want to lose that, that personal touch and making sure that we train our employees to jump in at the right cycle of the customer journey. And provide that support. I mean, I can think of countless times where we're working with other technologists and vendors that we're trying to solve some kind of problem. And as much as I love chatbots and trying to solve problems myself, sometimes you just need to speak to a human, and we don't want to create an environment of friction to limit the ability to get to the right person in a timely fashion and solve a problem quickly. So, technology has really been a great help in making that process more seamless, and creating things like FAQs on websites and creating more channels of communication. But we also want to make sure that we get real people involved in the process as early as possible as well.
I think you said the term as you were talking that was floating around in my head, and that's seamless.
Yeah.
And the most disruptive part of the customer support process is your transitions. If you're putting them into an IVR, they start to solve their problem, and then the step where they go from the IVR to the customer, all of that frustration and friction builds in that moment. Why? Because they got instant support through the IVR, got to a point where the IVR couldn't solve them. Now you're going to make me wait on hold for 10 or 15 minutes to answer somebody? Yeah. Where are you as an individual at the end of those 15 minutes when now you're at somebody who can solve your problem? You're not even focused on your problem anymore. Right. You're focused on the fact that you just had to wait 15 minutes to even tell somebody that you had a problem.
Right.
Yeah. Good point. Kevin, as Chief Operating Officer of DataCapable, you're heavily involved in product development. How significant is the role of customer feedback and the overall customer focus on user experience?
Yeah, for me, from day one at DataCapable, I realized that we had a real opportunity to engage our customers, and that being a key differentiator for us. Everybody pounds the table and says that they're doing it and that they're doing it well, but it can't just be lip service. It has to be a real commitment for the business, and it has to be thought of a fundamental driver for the business.
Can you give me a specific example where that customer feedback loop really enhanced that user experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say along the fringes of development, it is always part of the feedback that's considered. But I think one of the maybe aha moments or changes for DataCapable where we were following the customer, and in this case we were following the end customer, not the utility being the customer. But our outage and event map product. Outage and event maps have always been thought of and considered in terms of desktop applications. And we really started digging in to the customer feedback and what we were hearing from the utilities and what we were seeing from the behavior for the customers. And we did a full redesign on our outage and event map based on the fact that we realized through customer interactions that we weren't thinking about the problem right. So the opportunity was, there's a power outage. This seems so simple and something that should have been an absolute realization from the beginning. When the power's out, your desktop computer doesn't work. How are people viewing and consuming information when the power's out? It's on their mobile phones. Right. So, our product was originally designed probably before mobile phones were nearly as smart and prominent as they are today. But we ripped the product apart and we brought in design principles of the customer and design principles of mobile first. And that has been a real differentiator for us in the market, because we tell the utilities, we tell our customers, over 80% of your customers are engaging on mobile for an outage and event map. How does your outage and event map work on mobile? Oh, we never even looked at it on mobile. So we said, no, we're going to design mobile first, desktop second. let's optimize the mobile experience. Why? Because 80+% of your customers are engaging there.
That was brilliant. I had the pleasure of speaking to many of your clients at DataCapable, and one of the things that was universal in their response was the great customer support that DataCapable provides its utility clients. As tech offerings expand, your tech offerings expand in complexity, what challenges come to the forefront for you aiming to provide top-notch customer support? And what advice can you have, what can you give to aspiring technology entrepreneurs following in your footsteps?
Yeah, I would say from the very onset, what you need to do is you need to start building a knowledge center that's focused around your customers. So there are plenty of great tools like CRMs out there that you can use. The issue always is almost never the tools in this case. The issue is the commitment to using the tools and building out that knowledge base. And it's easy to say early on in your journey that we don't need this, it's not the right time for this. It's always the right time to build a knowledge center, because if you aren't, you're building your business around you as an individual, and that will inhibit your ability to scale, or it will force you to be in a position to make compromises in the future that are suboptimal compromises for your own position in the market.
That's great. Scott, automation and human touch and customer support, there's always a tug of war. In your perspective, what's the ideal balance between the two?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of covered some of this already, but in the sense that one of the big industry buzzwords right now is AI, and how companies are leveraging that into their workflow and into customer service. But I wouldn't say that AI or chatbots or any of these tools, CRMs or anything like that, are replacements for excelling in customer service. It's a people-oriented business. So, and that's true across every industry. So we need to prioritize making sure that all of our teams that are client-facing are tapping into knowledge shares and have cross-training and all the education on customers and how they operate. And then on top of that, using the cutting-edge technology that we have out there, whether that's pairing AI with CRMs, taking information that customers put into chatbots. So it is a bit of a tug of war, but it's more of a pairing of the two rather than replacing customer support as we know it with technology. It's more so enhancing.
Very good.
I think you can. I think there's a couple of simple questions that you can ask yourself when you're evaluating whether there's a gap here you can fill with technology, or you should be filling this with the human touch.
Right.
And I would take it right back to the concept we talked about friction. Is implementing technology making the experience more friction for your customers, or is it reducing friction for your customers? Right. And if the answer is it's making your process higher friction, it's probably not the right solution.
Oh, I think all of us as consumers have experienced where we're being contained away from the call center, and we're spending an enormous amount of time and effort being contained by automation, when all you really need to do is talk to a human being. It's those times that automation is a hindrance.
Well, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just one quick story on that. When I was asked to fill a role of overseeing the contact centers for the company, one of the first directives that was handed down to me from the executives was, we need higher containment in the IVR. We need to solve more problems before they get to the contact center. Being a good manager, a young manager in the role that wanted to please, wanted whatever the picture of success was that the executives were painting, I wanted to be that, right? So what did I do? I spent a year digging into the IVR, redesigning the IVR, driving my retention rates up in my IVR, thinking that this is going to solve a problem, this is going to reduce business costs. What I didn't anticipate was, I had less calls in the call center. I had a lot more difficult, longer, more expensive calls. So did I save the company a whole lot of money? No. Did I improve the customer experience? No. Like it was a real moment for me to step back and reflect, what are the unintended consequences of the actions we're taking, and are we actually solving a real problem by taking those steps?
Great point.
Well, Bill, in your journey with Message Broadcast, how is some of the customer journey and insights that you've gleaned from those interactions led to maybe a new product in the organization or an evolution of a product?
That's a great question. For a number of years in the utility industry, we were providing proactive communication, keeping customers closely informed of outage communication. One of our clients, Southern California, was posed with a particular problem called PSPS. It's called Public Safety Power Shutoff. And when the winds increase, the utilities need to de-energize their power lines. But before they do that, they have to proactively notify customers in the affected areas. And so we were listening. We were working with Southern California Edison at the time, and they needed to be able to send out millions of messages incredibly quickly. And so based on that feedback that we were getting from the customers, the regulators, and the utility, we came up with a way to pre-position the data. So all they needed to do was identify the circuits that were going to be affected, and we already knew it was already preloaded, the scripts, the data that we were going to be contacting. And so that feedback allowed us to accelerate the responsiveness to that communication. So it was very significant. You know, Kevin, in your business, I would imagine that your customer support desk led to feature changes in your technology. Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, I certainly can, and I think one of the things that I was thinking about when you were talking was this concept of timeliness, and we haven't really touched on timeliness yet, but timeliness is of the essence in customer support. You can have the most thorough process, you can have the best outcomes, you can always, fix the problem, have great RCAs, root cause analysis that you're providing to your customers about what happened and why it happened. But if it's 24 hours later, none of that matters.
Right.
And I think that's been one of the pieces of feedback, and one of the changes that we've been acutely aware of in our process is timeliness. And timeliness can't just be an SLA. It can't be just a promise to the customers that you're going to respond in 2 hours. Sure, that's what you're contractually obligated to, but the expectation is much higher than that 2 hours, because why? They're in crisis. And when people are in crisis, they're emotional.
Oh yes, yeah, and we've had the same challenge presented to us when load shed had to be considered, and it's one thing to have to respond very quickly to circuits that are going to be taken down proactively in a PSPS event, but load shed is exponentially higher. You're shutting down entire areas of a state, and we have to proactively communicate. That customer feedback that we got from Southern California Edison led to the establishment of a product that we have, and it's directly related to customer feedback. It's called EONS, Enterprise Omnichannel Notification System, and we have gone through multiple iterations. We're now on version 4 of that technology, and it has grown in direct response to our client support feedback. So oftentimes, if tech-led founders are paying attention to what their customers are saying, it may lead them in a direction that they never envisioned, but it can be incredibly profitable.
Yeah, along the same lines as you, we're actually in an active process right now, building out visualizations for wildfire risks that are tied to your proactive messaging that's required for the proactive power shutoffs. Interestingly, I thought we would kick that journey off in California because they have been on the leading edge of that, and we're actually kicking that journey off with a customer today that isn't in a wildfire-prone area, but they're seeing what's happening in California. They're anticipating that regulatory change is coming to them, and they're taking control of that by owning this from day one. But we view this as an opportunity to change the entire customer experience around these, and again, reduce friction, empower customers, let them take control of what they can take control of, and being able to put that information out to them proactively. It's kind of flipping the script on its head, right? Because customer communications around outages have always been reactive, right? The outage happens, your power's out. We're now going to tell you that your power's out. Thank you very much. I'm sitting in the dark. Now we're starting to create a way to manage those expectations with those customers. So again, reduce the friction. You know this is going to be a pain point for them. So how do you start mitigating that pain point before it actually becomes a pain point?
Continue to communicate with them on a frequent basis with relevant information. Kevin, given the rise of AI-driven chatbots, what's your take on the next chapter of customer support in the tech industry?
Yeah, so I'm concerned. If I'm being honest, I'm concerned that we're going down a path that we believe that we can solve all of the customer concerns at very low cost and without a human touch. And I think chatbots, great tool, great part. You can create a really great experience around the first 30 seconds, the first minute, the first 2 minutes maybe with that chatbot experience. But you then need to have a process in place for that seamless transition that we talked about, so that the customer, once the technology has reached its limitation, that the human is filling that gap seamlessly without the customer having to deal with that frustration and feel like they have to start the conversation over from step one.
Yeah. Well, just to add to that real quick, in kind of the operational tech support side of the world too, we love automation, but it's only automating what works. And so what I mean by that is, AI chatbots, being able to do more of self-service style of support for yourself as an employee within an organization is great. And we can leverage technology to drive the automation around saving time for repetitive tasks. And I think that's kind of the key difference is if there's an area where we can use chatbots to save a support desk from doing thousands of password resets a month, let's do that, right? But the second it grows beyond a repetitive task or something into that category is where we need to not forget to have a human touch point in that process. So to Kevin's point, AI-driven chatbots, fantastic. A lot of value that can be had there in terms of time and cost savings, both customer-facing and internally. But we can't lose sight of the human element too.
Well, everybody's familiar with ChatGPT and generative AI type solutions. How do you see chatbots evolving now that we're getting into much higher level artificial intelligence? Years ago, when the call centers were having to answer and only be able to help one client at a time, our company innovated the use of text messaging. For those that prefer text messaging, a call center agent could handle a dozen customers at the same time. And now with AI-driven chatbots, it can become much more personalized. How do you see the evolution of that in customer service?
So I think it needs to be a force multiplier, not a replacement. So it can drive efficiency into your organization, but we can't view it no, I'm not convinced yet that it's going to evolve to the point where you can fully replace the human. And I think the big challenge here is that technology is evolving much faster than people are evolving, right? So if you aren't pacing that change in we're talking about customer support. If you aren't pacing the change with the customers and you're focused on just the change of the technology, you are going to leave people behind, and there are going to be unintended consequences.
Yeah, I agree. I guess it comes back to the basics. Pay attention to the feedback that your customers are giving. As you're trying new technologies and experimenting with that, to be that force multiplier, you still have to have that constant feedback loop. Are you reducing customer effort? Are you impacting customer loyalty with these new technologies? Because these are not CFO-driven businesses. They are customer, human being to human being. And so I can tell you that I don't mind talking to AI so long as it's solving my problem quickly and I can move on.
Yeah. And that's where you're at in your evolution and your journey. But I promise you that you have customers that want nothing to do with AI. They distrust AI.
Right.
They don't believe, no matter how good the solution is that's coming out of the AI, if they know it's coming out of the AI, they don't want to deal with it. They still, there's a large portion of your customer base that still wants that face-to-face, voice-to-voice conversation.
That's an excellent point, because at the end of the day, the customer's always right.
Exactly.
Scott, as businesses scale, how do you envision them retaining that invaluable personal touch? I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about in the support interactions.
Yeah, I think Kevin touched on it a little bit earlier too, with making sure that there is just a well-documented kind of knowledge share internally, both on the process and operation side, but also leveraging the tools that we have, whether that be CRMs, making sure that we understand the history of the customer challenges, making sure that that's shared across departments. So, I think it's really just making sure that all teams are on the same page as to what the current projects or challenges are with the customer, and making sure that we bring that to the forefront when they're interacting with the customer.
Yeah, I think the other real risk here is there is a propensity for businesses to put a piece of technology in place and take a set it and forget it mentality to it.
Right.
And that's not the world we live in anymore. There is no set it and forget it mentality, particularly with technology, because if you're doing that, the rest of the world is evolving around you and passing you by.
Right.
Yeah. We're in a competitive world, obviously. You're leading a tech company, and in closing our discussion, this is for both of you, but let's touch upon the larger picture. How does exceptional customer support not just meet your client expectations, but propel your company to a leadership position in this competitive marketplace?
So I think for starters, you have to recognize that customer support is a strategic value to your organization. It can't be that cost center, because it's so easy to say customer support is a cost center because you see the dollars piling up, you don't see a direct return on your investment. So it has to be a commitment and a constant commitment for the business first, and a willingness to invest in it. And that in and of itself will create a strategic advantage for you in the market that will have that ROI that you're out there searching for.
I absolutely agree. And a short story about that. We had been competing for years against one of our leading technology companies out there. They had a huge market share, and then they got acquired. And some financial person must have said, we can create a much higher profit if we just outsource our customer support overseas. And their large B2B clients were suddenly finding themselves, please, we'll issue a trouble ticket out of a foreign country, and their customer support tanked. And within, I would say, 30 days, they were contacting us because they knew that we had exceptional customer support, and we started taking clients away from that. That was the opposite that tech companies want to do. What's your experience with that, Scott?
Yeah, well, I think we look to great examples in the industry that are probably relevant for all of us. When you want to go purchase a computer, if you go to a Best Buy or something like that, the experience may be good, might be bad, because it's not a kind of a structured approach to customer support, in my experience. But when you go to, say, an Apple store and you go through their customer support journey, it's customer focused from the get-go, and they're customizing the product selection to how you're going to use the product, making sure that you get everything set up the way that you need it, and really engendering that lifelong trust and relationship building with their customer base. And so when you look at a company like that really prioritizes that journey and how they provide that customer support, it really flips the script on how customers can really be locked into a brand for a lifetime.
Great.
So.
Well, gentlemen, your insights were terrific. I appreciate your time. Thanks for tuning in to the Thrive podcast. If this episode added value to your journey, please share, subscribe, and leave us a review. And for all the tech founders and entrepreneurs, please visit our website at thriveadvisors.com. Remember, most businesses experience periods of stagnation. At Thrive Advisors, we're here to set the right strategy in place, set it into motion, and steer your venture to success and a profitable exit. Until next time, thank you for joining us.